Can you just kind of clarify what this ruling is all about and clear up, I guess, some of the misconceptions about what this is and how athletes will be compensated and stuff like that?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's going to be a model that mimics what the NCAA does, and it couldn't be further from the truth. We were one of the last states to adopt this. I think we are the 47th state to adopt it. Actually, I know we were in the last five. But there was also some legal proceedings that took place that I'm sure you're aware of now that have kind of come out. So with that being said, I mean, we had to come up with something. I think we were trying to wait to kind of let things settle down so we could see where other states have made mistakes, what they have done well, and then how we could adapt that within our own rulings. And so it's not the recruiting pay to play that this couldn't be further from the truth. So all of our old rules, as far as the no transfer rule, pay to play rule, things like that, those are still in place. So people can't just jump around. They can't just somebody offers them a few bucks and jump to one school or the other. And I know some of the things that I had seen on Facebook were your more prominent districts or your non-public, we're going to start attracting even more kids to them, and there's a lot of things in place that would prohibit that. So.
And I know a big topic of conversation just throughout the last few years has been the public versus private school situation with athletes too. This it's same deal. It covers that like private schools don't have any sort of advantage over public schools in this scenario either. Correct?
Correct, because anybody that's affiliated with a school or that is given, I mean, there's certain parameters, but it's given over $10,000 in the last 4 years. Those are seen as connections or links to schools, and so those cannot contribute to any athletes, moving forward. So it's not like you or I could take some money and move over to another school. If you're affiliated with a school and you offer that money, then there's steps in place to you have to apply within 7 business days once a transaction or a contract has been signed. So that all goes through the approval process. You can't use anything that has, you can't be on school property. It can't be during school hours. You can't use our logos or anything, provided Jeff Kline can't run out and, promote where Mount Morris and still get paid for it. So there's a lot of parameters in place that need to be approved before somebody can actually be awarded. It's not as simple as I'm going to pay somebody $100 to do something. And I think that the big misconception too is that this is going to impact a lot of people. What we have found in just data through the other 46 states that signed this ahead of us, it's less than 1%. It's your large nationally recruited individuals, a specialized somebody that has a lot of Olympic elite athletes, or somebody that has a large social media following. And so we're talking about a small group of people. I think I saw a stat, and in North Carolina, it's 1 out of every 770 athletes. So I think a lot of people think that there's a lot of money going to be thrown around here, and on average, it's I don't know, I think it's maybe even less than $100 or right around $100. So that's not really a lot in the big scheme of things. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's when I was talking to I talked to a couple coaches just like at games, kind of asked them what they thought about it, and basically that was the takeaway is like it'll take just for people in the last few years of Michigan like a Bryce Underwood or a Dante Moore or someone of that caliber to kind of generate this NIL stuff. But in that scenario, I guess what's kind of the process like for a kid like that in the state of Michigan if they were to get NIL benefits?
There's actually all transactions have to be disclosed. There's actually a form on the MHSAA website. They would turn it into the point of contact, which is Brad Bush. He's a director there, and they just go through the process to make sure that everything is kind of covered. Nobody wants to risk eligibility at the high school level or even your collegiate moving forward, especially if you are that type of athlete. So what I don't think a lot of people realize, though, is it falls back on the parents and the businesses and the individual. They need to make sure that they cover all their bases so that it doesn't come back to bite them in any negative fashion. So as long as the steps are followed, there's different cheat sheets that the MHSA has put out, and nobody wants to get caught up in anything negative. We just hope that everybody is forthright and doing the right thing, and this will allow those few athletes to kind of take advantage of it. I know we've got some different athletes in the area that are starting to be sponsored by Olympic aspirations, and so hopefully this allows them to help with their training and travel, and not hold them back where beforehand it might have. So.
And do you see this, I guess, because obviously NIL in general is still very new for college as well. I guess where do you see this growing in the future to athletes who are maybe going D1 but don't have the same sort of media following or coverage and stuff like that, or do you see it for the foreseeable future kind of staying in this place with the top 1% of athletes?
It could evolve a little bit. I think that even us 5-10 years ago, we would have thought there's no way this is ever going to get to the high school level, yet here we are, right? I could see it being if there's a car dealership uptown and they just want to get some foot traffic, and they promote somebody that is a local athlete that's got a big name out there, and maybe they want to pay him a couple $100 to come in and do autographs or something like that. I mean, I could see it growing a little bit outside. I'm not so sure that would even be something that wouldn't transpire sooner or later maybe. But I think that the real money that we're talking about, if in fact there is real money in it, it's going to be with those elite athletes where, like you talked about Bryce Underwood. When you're the number one recruit in the country, I mean, you're getting a lot of social media play. You're getting brought up on recruiting sites and podcasts, and so your name's getting out there. I just don't think that's normal for most people. So.
And can you tell me a little bit just about the discussions within the board on being able to come up with the best way to not only protect the athletes in situations like this, but protect the schools and kind of keep the competition, the playing field just level, and making sure everything stays fair throughout this kind of new era?
Well, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but we really took what was going well in some states and then obviously looking at what didn't go well in some states. So we tried to, I think, sit back and observe, and I think from that we were able to see the good and bad and what could transpire. And I think if you are the first one to market, kind of, so to speak, it's almost like a living document, and you're kind of living as you're learning, and we didn't want to be that. And then also with the legal proceedings, we wanted to go more of a branding instead of NIL, where the personal branding activity is more of, it gives that person the opportunity to go out and do it on their own, but they can't use the likeness of any member school, MHSAA, the buildings and fields and things like that. So there was a lot of discussion over multiple meetings. We knew that the legal proceeding was kind of coming, and so we were talking about it before it even went to that point. Being one of the last couple, so to speak, in the entire country, we knew it was probably coming. But if you wait too long, you're going to have somebody give you the rules. Instead, we wanted to be out front and give language that we thought would work for our state and our communities and our association. So that's why we didn't wait around after the legal proceedings had started, and so we got out in front of it.
Awesome. And I guess the last thing I got is there anything else that I didn't really ask about that you feel is kind of important for people to know about this additionally, and just any sort of further clarification, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like we talked about with social media, there was a lot of misperceptions out there, and a lot of those rules did not change. And there's new rules in place that have to be approved for you to enter into these contracts. So, the transfer rule is still in place. You can't pay to play. There's just a lot of things that we are trying to keep the field level, but also honor those athletes who have that opportunity. And so trying to find the best of both worlds is kind of where we're at. With the MHSA and the Representative Council, there's a wide variety of people represented, from large schools, small schools, UP, all facets or different corners of the state. And so people have different things that they brought up at the meeting and give different insight, and hopefully, this is the best thing for everybody involved at this point. Not to say there might not be changes, but right now I think we've come up with a good solution, and hopefully it works out for everybody involved.